Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning for our 8th status update regarding the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility. I am Victoria Kuhn, the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Corrections. If you're joining us this morning, you are likely aware that we joined together as a result of a settlement agreement entered into in August of 2021 that appoints a federal monitor and provides specific requirements for compliance in a number of areas that impact those at the Edna facility. This morning, you will hear updates from our experts and dedicated team. Joining us this morning are Jane Parnell, the well-respected court-appointed federal monitor, Aaron Nardelli, Deputy Commissioner of the Division of Operations, Dr. Darcella Sessoms, Chief of the Division of Programs and Reintegration Services, Christina Chibenko, Chief of Staff, Elena Tomei, Assistant Commissioner of Women's Services, Kelly Daniels, Assistant Commissioner of the Special Investigations Division, and Brian Fusaro, Administrator of the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility. We are also pleased to have Dr. Michelle Morris, a dynamic member of the Edna Board of Trustees, joining us this morning. We will have an opportunity to hear from Dr. Morris shortly. Before turning the program over to Ms. Parnell, I would like to take a moment to provide a few status updates. Many of you have heard me express before that we at the department embrace a better together approach and building a sustainable community with our custody and civilian staff, with our managers and our leaders, our very dedicated board of trustees, and with our population and their families, with legislators, the Ombuds's Office, reentry partners, and community organizations. As this community continues to strengthen and grow, it continues to strengthen and support the well-being of the justice-involved women in New Jersey. And in this regard, we are very pleased to report that we recently launched a partnership and a program with Give Something Back, a nationally recognized nonprofit. This new program is the first of its kind in the nation and benefits the children of the women at Edna. The Give Back program provides services, mentoring, educational resources, career guidance, vocational training, college support, and educational scholarships, and provides these resources to the children of an incarcerated person from middle school through high school and into adulthood, all in an effort to enhance family connections, provide critical resources to a youth population that may be forgotten, and ultimately to break the pipeline to prison. We are so excited by this partnership and are incredibly grateful to Give Something Back for partnering with us. In addition, with regard to criminal justice reform, in collaboration with stakeholders, the women at Edna, the Board of Trustees, and our legislators, we continue to promote criminal justice reform, including legislation that is directed at implementing a mitigating factor during sentencing for victims of domestic violence, and advancing the Incarcerated Women's Protection Act to ensure that the reform measures firmly put into place to protect the women in Edna remain in place, become law, and never be taken away again. And we thank our legislators for their support. And finally, with regard to the construction of the new female facility, since we were last together, significant progress has been made. The architects and engineers are firmly in place, and the NJDOC team is working diligently with the architects and engineers, DPMC and Treasury, and stakeholders through the design phase of the project. This is the critical step in the development of architectural and engineering plans for the new facility and is proceeding on schedule and within budget. As a result, we remain on target to begin construction next year in mid to late 2026, to complete the first areas of construction in 2027, and to have the entire project completed in 2028. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not need me to tell you that this has been a long time coming, and it is exciting to see this critical initiative become a reality. This is a large undertaking, and I'm appreciative of all those who are dedicating their time and their talent to this essential project. So you're joining us this morning to hear additional updates, including enhancing opportunities for women, updates to safety, sexual safety and security, and staffing and recruitment, among other topics. And I look forward to you hearing from the team. At this time, I am happy to introduce Jane Parnell.
Good morning. Commissioner Hill mentioned that this is our 8th meeting together. And so when I was writing my talking points last night, I was trying to think, what could I say that's different? But the reality is all I ever do is introduce myself. And so nothing changes. So I apologize for those of you who have heard this 8 times. But there might be somebody who's wondering what my background is and why I was appointed as a federal manager. So we're going to go through it one more time. My name is Jane Parnell. I come from the state of Washington. We call it the good Washington. I had 35 years in corrections in Washington State. I started as a correctional officer and literally worked my way up. I went to probation and parole, and ultimately I was the word, which was our term for administrator, was of 3 prisons, 2 male prisons, and then my very, very favorite job was to be the warden of the women's prison in Washington State. Probably the best position I've ever held up until now, actually. Our facility, and I say this every time because I think it's valuable for you to know that I've experienced this federal monitor for both sides. While I was the warden of the Washington Correctional Center for Women, our facility was under a state settlement agreement for 3 years as a result of staff sexual misconduct with incarcerated women. So I've lived the experience from the administrative position. I know that we got through it, and we got through it better and stronger and safer facility than we were before. And I see Edna going through the same thing, being better and stronger and safer.
After I retired, I have 10 years as a corrections consultant, primarily working with women's prisons and jails around the United States.
In terms of the settlement agreement, and there was an investigation conducted jointly by the Civil Rights Division, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey, and the Department of Justice found reasonable cause
To believe that the conditions at Edna at the time violated the Incarcerated Persons 8th Amendment. Specifically, the Department of Justice concluded that Edna Mahan failed to protect the incarcerated persons from sexual abuse by the facility staff. And so in August of 2021,
an agreement between the Department of Corrections and the Department of Justice, approved by the federal court, agreed to take specific actions in order to make the facilities sexually safer for the incarcerated persons to live and for the staff to work. And I was appointed as the federal monitor by the court.
so I don't work for the Department of Justice. I don't work for the Department of Corrections. I'm an independent
monitor for the court. In that capacity, my job is to write a report to the court every 6 months and let the court know how the Department of Justice and specifically Edna Mahan are doing in abiding by the agreements that they made. I am currently in the process of drafting the 8th report.
My associate and I have just finished a compliance visit this week at Edna.
We, as part of that process, we look at policies and procedures. We read investigation reports. We talk to staff virtually, mostly virtually prior to coming. When we get to the facility, most of our 3 days is
spent talking to the incarcerated person and conducting focus groups with both staff and incarcerated persons. As I said, I'm currently writing the draft, finishing it. The process is that I provide a draft to the Department of Corrections and to the Department of Justice. We all get together and complete. They provide me feedback, and then
my report is due to the court in October.
so
That's the process, and what my job is and why I'm here. I can talk more later about some of the findings of the compliance visit that we just completed. But first, let me please introduce Deputy Commissioner Karen Nardelli.
Thank you, Ms. Marnell. Good morning. My name is Erin Nardelli, and I am the Deputy Commissioner for the Division of Operations for the New Jersey Department of Corrections. I'm here today proudly representing the professional men and women of this department. These individuals who are expertly trained and licensed are those we rely upon to maintain safety, security, and orderly operations of Edna Mahan Correctional Facility and all NJDOC institutions. Maintaining secure operations helps to establish a sense of calm and safety among those housed at Edna. Our staff step forward at a time when their work is often undervalued. They stand up to serve 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. They do it under difficult and oftentimes dangerous circumstances. Their life's work requires bravery, sacrifice, and carefully considered actions at every turn. Their work at Edna, in particular, has been one of the strongest foundations for change, aimed at improving outcomes, increasing public trust, and inspiring others to take on this work. Change is difficult, and sweeping changes can leave some people feeling like they are on shaky ground. The staff at Edna has worked so hard and embraced changes with a spirit of cooperation for the betterment of all. At Edna and in every other correctional facility, our staff are the backbone of operation. There is no planning, no policy, or no change that could ever be accomplished without them, and we thank them for their support, their integrity, and their dedication. At Edna and across the DOC, we uphold a steadfast zero tolerance for sexual abuse or harassment. Our commitment to the safety of incarcerated individuals guides our every procedure and practice. We achieve this through vigilant supervision and robust technology. Body-worn cameras. The department remains fully deployed with BWCs in all correctional facilities and specialized units. Upgrades to our existing equipment have been completed, and New Jersey remains at the forefront for this technology for correctional facilities nationwide. We continue to refine our procedures to ensure compliance with relevant laws and guidelines, and we remain a resource to other states and government agencies in this regard. In 2024, Edna Mahan Correctional Facility recorded over 363,000 videos with almost 31,000 hours of recordings on BWCs. These recordings have been crucial in providing evidence for investigations, monitoring, and ensuring compliance with our policies, thereby reinforcing our commitment to transparency and accountability. In the first 6 months of 2025, Edna Mahan Correctional Facility had nearly 200,000 videos recorded, with approximately 17,000 hours of video on BWC. As a department, there were over 1 million videos recorded with nearly 124,000 hours of footage in 2024. Healthcare services. The reimagined NJDOC Healthcare Compliance Unit has created a stringent auditing process that is producing results, responsiveness, and corrective actions. The HCU has assisted this review period in providing healthcare education in person to the women at Edna, and their presentations were positively received. In 2024 and continuing in 2025, the Healthcare Compliance Unit conducted both gynecological services and mammogram audits specific to Edna, with audits of the following areas statewide, including Edna Mahan: nurse sick call, physical, discharge planning, x-rays, psychotropic medications, infirmary care, chronic care, EKGs, transfer screenings, HIV, medication serum levels, endocrinology, neurology, mental health screening, cardiac care, intake assessments, oncology, pulmonary, routine lab work, and mental health observations.
Further, the healthcare compliance unit has worked on our current healthcare contract, our substance use disorder contract, and continues quality reviews of pharmacy matters. We also remain at the forefront and are relied upon in support of our partners throughout the nation in correctional mental health. The Division of Operations maintains strategic visioning for appropriate management of bed space. We are deeply involved in all aspects of the new women's correctional facility in planning and design. And we have spent much of this reporting period working through this with designers, architects, and construction experts. We've taken a look at commissary operations this year, reviewing them and ensuring they receive increased oversight, which has yielded more consistent offerings at Edna and other facilities. We continue to provide attention and response to infrastructure and address issues as they arise. Edna Mahan received emergency response from both the NJDOC maintenance and contracted vendors as required 24 hours a day. A new director of capital construction has been onboarded, bringing a depth of experience in ensuring that we're addressing needs and responding to emergencies in accordance with appropriate standards. Regarding staffing, the NJDOC and law enforcement agencies across the United States continue to experience significant shortages. Our division is assisting in this area where we can to foster recruitment with a specific focus on recruiting staff for Edna. For the most recent academy class, the Division of Operations and Edna Mahan Correctional Facility staff presented to the class at the academy and outlined the benefits of seeking to begin their career at Edna. We also then met with all female recruits to address any questions that they had about employment at Edna. Our division has been able to assist Edna Mahan Correctional Facility with changes in leadership due to retirements and promotions to ensure continuity of operations. That is part of ensuring that changes made are solidified and become part of the culture rather than simply a crisis response. Careful planning goes into the selection and development of the leadership team at Edna, and this has really yielded positive results that should assist us in our future stability. Edna remains in full compliance with the Dignity for Incarcerated Primary Caretaker Parents Act, offering a visitation 6 days per week for contact visits, in addition to the various specialized visits that occur at the facility. In addition, video visitation remains to be available 5 days per week for a total of 65 visit sessions per week in all general population housing units. And they're available in the morning, the afternoon, and the evenings. We have a team working with the new tablet vendor in all areas of transition to ensure the women at Edna and their families receive all the resources that will be available with this new system for family connection and communication in an expedited manner. That's our report from the Division of Operations. Now I take the opportunity to introduce our Assistant Commissioner of Women's Services, Elena Tomei.
I am Elena Tomei, and I thank you for joining today's semi-annual public meeting. Your continued interest in the progress Edna Mahan is deeply valued. Over this reporting period, Edna Mahan has made meaningful strides in leadership, development, programming, and culture transformation. While we remain committed to the requirements of the settlement agreement, our work extends beyond compliance. We are building sustainable systems that prioritize safety, dignity, and rehabilitation for all. As the settlement agreement coordinator, I ensure accountability is front and center. We have maintained regular communication with the Federal Monitor and the Department of Justice, submitted all required reports, and continued refining policies that strengthen safety and dignity. During this reporting period, there were 8 allegations reported that fell within the settlement agreement. 2 cases have been closed. Of those, 1 was determined to be unfounded and 1 unsubstantiated. 6 cases remain under review by the County Prosecutor's Office, as is routine. Every allegation, regardless of outcome, is handled confidentially by trained investigators and reported to the Federal Monitor and the Department of Justice. Each case is approached with integrity and a trauma-informed lens to ensure safety, respect, and accountability at every step. Staffing continues to be one of our top priorities. We follow the recruitment and retention plan for women correctional officers and have expanded outreach through the Serve with Honor, Protect with Pride campaign, which relaunched in June 2025. These efforts are showing results. Graduation numbers have risen, allowing us to expand academy classes from 2 to 3 each year. Recent academies also introduced a residential optional format, giving recruits more flexibility to balance training with their obligations at home. We're proud that the department continues to maintain the lowest attrition rate since 2012, supported by mentorship and wellness planning to keep our workforce strong. Training remains the foundation of our culture transformation. Staff continue to receive annual PREA training, as well as gender responsive and trauma-informed instruction. This year, we advanced training under the DOC's approved plan, which delivers a comprehensive curriculum for all staff and volunteers using innovative tools like AI-generated animation, interactive quizzes, and question and answer opportunities. Plan ensures that everyone is up to date on revised settlement-related policies. By the close of this reporting period, nearly all staff have completed this training. Our focus on empowerment and community engagement has continued to grow. The Empowering Women Speaker Series highlighted women's health. Freedom Reads brought 10 handcrafted libraries into housing units and invited participants to join the Inside Literary Prize, where they read, discussed, and voted on thought-provoking books. The EMCF Design Studio, developed with DebCorps and the Pratt Institute, launched as the first program of its kind in the United States. This industrial training program provides participants with state-of-the-art instruction in garment design, digital pattern making, and production technology. Beyond classroom learning, participants gain real-world marketable skills in areas such as computer-aided design, digital fabrication, and workflow management. These are skills that are in high demand across today's apparel, textile, and design industries. These experiences build confidence, foster creativity, and create pathways for successful reentry. Perceptions Reimagined, our incarcerated person-led newsletter, focused its most recent issue on mental health. It's available to the public on the department's website and continues to highlight the creativity and perspectives of the women at Edna. The Women's Risk Need Assessment is moving closer towards implementation, giving us a validated tool designed specifically for women to improve how we assess risk and identify needs. Finally, our culture campaign, grounded in safety, dignity, and respect, continues to guide daily operations. We'll hear a little bit more of that from Mr. Fusaro. We have made significant progress, but there's always more to do. Each step, whether in staffing, training, services, or culture change, brings us closer to a stronger, safer, and more rehabilitative environment at Edna. Thank you for your continued engagement and support. And now I am very pleased to introduce to you Mr. Brian Fusaro, the administrator of the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility.
Thank you, Ms. Good morning. My name is Brian Fusaro, and I am the administrator of Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women. I began my career with the Department of Corrections in 2010 as a correctional police officer. Was later promoted to sergeant and was first assigned to Edna in 2017. Over my career, I have served in administration as assistant superintendent and associate administrator, before assuming my role as the administrator in 2025, following the retirement of the previous administrator, Brian Day. In addition to my 15 years of service with the department, I've also earned a master's degree in public administration from Paul University. My previous positions and professional experience guide my decision making and provide clarity on the opportunities and obligations in serving as administrator. I have been involved in implementing many of the reforms that Edna since the inception of the consent decree, and I am proud to be a part of the progress that continues to be made. Continuing where Administrator O'Day left off, and considering the culture 5 years ago, there is no ambiguity. Edna Mahan is in a very different position. Through the hard work of our team, and when I say team, I speak for all the staff in the facility, we have ushered in rapid and meaningful change that has helped reshape our facility operations and culture. It has been a real team effort. Our administration is comprised of a multidisciplinary group, all of whom have been intimately involved in fulfilling the requirements of this consent decree, meeting the tasks head on. We continue to be unrelenting in our pursuit of success. Collectively, we each bring decades of service to the New Jersey Department of Corrections, which continues to show the dedication we hold to the process, a process centered on safety, dignity, and respect, both for our staff and the incarcerated population. Since the last reporting period, Edna has focused on strengthening staffing, communication, and operational excellence. In February, all staff is justice, ensuring compliance with PREA standard. To address ongoing staffing challenges, our team participated in the National Institute of Corrections 5-month virtual staffing analysis program. This analysis included participation between leadership and line staff, examining facility and population data to identify gaps and create actionable solutions. We continue to convene our recruitment and retention work group comprised of female custody staff of all ranks to identify and emphasize key points that highlight what makes it so great to work at Edna Mahan and the opportunities that are available. Some of the points in this report period's meeting include reshaping perceptions and dispelling misconceptions about working at Edna Mahan, increasing opportunities for officers to earn additional income through overtime shift work, and continuing to focus on developing a supportive work environment while highlighting staff's ability to learn all facets of corrections in one location. In our ongoing collaboration with the Moss Group, we launched the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility Culture Campaign and the 52 Tips, Operational Excellence for Working with Incarcerated Women. These monthly focus groups guide staff in applying gender-responsive practices in daily operations, from door security to respectful communication, ensuring that safety, dignity, and respect are at the heart of everything we do. Lastly, communication and transparency remain priorities. Through initiatives like EMCF Community Connect, a new biannual effort designed to provide timely institutional updates, foster meaningful and respectful communication, and strengthen our sense of community. These sessions are offered at both the main and satellite locations and provide transparent updates directly to members of administration and departmental leaders. This promotes information sharing and about facility programming, developments, and goals. Our administration recognizes the need for an environment that fosters emotional trust and safety while promoting clarity, consistency, and transparency. We have also instituted orientation refreshers and monthly advisory board meetings, where we continue to keep staff and incarcerated persons informed about policies, rules, and sexual safety. We've enhanced our retaliation monitoring systems, provided updates through newsletters, bulletin boards, and ongoing PREA education, and introduced peer-led pre-orientation facilitators to ensure IPs have multiple resources to maintain safety. I appreciate the opportunity to address the many successes and the continued reforms implemented. And I thank Commissioner Kuhn and Deputy Commissioner Nardelli for placing their trust in me to continue this critical work. Thank you to Assistant Commissioner Tomei and Operations Director Keisha Fisher for their support, guidance, and partnership in effectuating much of this work. And to the staff at Edna who come to work each day with a sense of purpose, determination, and dedication, our administration thanks you. And with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Michelle Morris from the Board of Trustees.
Good morning. While I am a new member of the Edna Mahan Board of Trustees, I have had the pleasure to work within the New Jersey Department of Corrections for 20 years. First, it was as a psychologist working with special needs incarcerated men and women. And then in the latter part of my career there, I worked in training, even teaching at our academy, working with the administrative staff and also with the incarcerated persons on how to better take care of themselves and their mental health. So today I am representing the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility Board of Trustees, Bonnie Furness, Kathleen Witcher, Dr. Johanna Foster, Dr. Sheila Trapp, and Cynthia Cooper. This is an active board. One of the things that has been very rewarding for me. It is our priority that we meet in person with the incarcerated persons at Edna Mahan. Our last meeting was August the 26th. We toured living areas, including dormitories, classrooms, and eating areas. And we have to say that we have seen positive changes, both with medical issues, with food preparation and delivery, which had been some of the areas that have been brought to our attention as needing some additional work. We also met with a representative group who shared the concerns of their peers. And the issues that were raised at that time were shared with Mr. Fuscaro and Ms. Anderson after the tours, and action items were discussed. We met with Ms. Parnell on September the 4th, and we were pleased to share with her that we had received no reports of abuse or disrespect since her last visit. And we have another visit that's scheduled in person in October. Now, beyond these meetings, the incarcerated persons know that they have a direct line of communication with us through an email that's been established. And they use that regularly. And also during our tours, they approach us and they feel very free to come up and approach us to share any of their concerns. We also hold monthly meetings with the Department of Corrections Administration, and we maintain contact as issues arise between those meetings. So these issues, anything that happens is ongoing. We don't wait for meetings to address any issues that come up. Mr. Fuscaro and his team at Edna Mahan have always promptly gotten back to us with anything that we bring forward, and how they deal with these issues. They've always been transparent with their remedies. So while we acknowledge that a lot of work has been done, we also recognize that there is a lot that's left to do. And the Board of Trustees is committed to continuing to work with the Department of Corrections throughout this compliance decree and beyond, because it is our main goal to ensure the safety of the incarcerated persons at Edna Mahan Corrections. Thank you.
Now is our opportunity to entertain any questions that may have been presented during the course of the morning. And I am pleased to report that we have no questions that have been presented from the public this morning. So we thank you for joining us. Jane, before we end, the session this morning. Is there anything that you'd like to say at the mic?
Usually, do you want me to come up there or just do it from here? If I sit, can you hear me? Usually I just wanted to give a summary of the update that I should stand.
Somebody take the mic and sit.
Nice. Thank you.
I wanted to give an update or a summary of the update that we gave to the administrative team at Edna yesterday when we
Left and just highlight some of the strengths and then some of the continued opportunities that continue. I would say first that the greatest strength, I think, is the leadership of this team up here, both from the central office, starting with Commissioner Kuhn and going down every level that you've heard from or heard about in each of the reports to the administrative team at Edna. I think that Ryan O'Day's shoes were hard to fill. I think that you did a marvelous job of filling them and Brian, your team is committed. And I think that's the other thing that's really important for me to say is that every person at this table, it's not about just meeting the goals of the consent decree. It's not about checking the box. The reports that you've heard here come from the heart. Many of the things, as AC Tomei has said to you, go way beyond the requirements of the settlement agreement.
the warrant as an example. I mean, there's just many, many things that you've heard today that are not required in the settlement agreement, but the department is doing them because they're the right things to do in terms of. So I think that's important for you to hear.
I think the other thing that's important is that my associate and I probably spoke to 50 or 60 women in the last 3 days, and there was not one of them that told us they did not feel sexually safe.
And as Mr. Fasaro said, that's a big growth in the last 4 years. They feel
Sexually safe, they feel respected, they feel like they're heard. They don't always like what they hear, but they feel like they're heard. And the compliments should go for all of this team here. I appreciate the work that Dr. Sessoms and her team are doing in terms of programming, and particularly the emphasis this last 6 months on programming for people whose English is not the primary language.
we literally, there are people accessing programs that they were not able to do a year ago. And that's because of the work of Dr. Sessoms and her team. And I would be negligent if I didn't acknowledge that. The other thing, I would be negligent if I didn't acknowledge the work of AC Daniels and her special investigations team that have done marvelous. We can come up here and we can give you facts and figures about how many allegations and how quickly they're done. But what you might
Not understand is the
ramifications of those allegations being done quickly. One of the things that we heard 4 years ago was that PREA was being weaponized by the incarcerated persons. And they were using it sometimes to get the staff out of the areas that they didn't like. And because investigations were taking a long time, the staff were remaining out of that post. With the body-worn cameras that DC Nardelli talked about, and with the speed of the investigations now, that is not an issue that we hear at all in terms of, in fact, staff are saying it doesn't work anymore, so the incarcerated persons aren't using that. So we can come up here,
Commissioner Kuhn's team can come up and give you facts and figures, but the change of the facility cannot be overexpressed. And as Dr. said, there is still more work to be done. I think that staffing continues to be a concern. We recognize and appreciate the work that the department has done specific to Edna, and it's still not enough.
I'm not sure we talked to any person, any staff person who isn't working 2 or 3 double shifts or 16 hours a day a week. And when you add working 16 hours a day and then you drive home sometimes an hour commute, that does not leave too much time for the rest or, spending time with your family and those priorities. So that is still an area of growth and focus that needs to remain. We sat in morning meetings and we heard them talk about how many times they had to collapse a post. And what that means is that should be a person, a security person who's in that area that is no longer there. And so maybe one person has to take 2 or 3 areas. And so that's still, again, an area of concern. We appreciate the focus that's been put on, and we will continue to hope that the focus remains.
I think the other area of continued progress is to continue the cultural changes that have been made.
It's easy to forget how important it is. And so the continued communication, the continued reminder of respect and dignity and safety. And I think that with that, is there anything that I missed that I told the team?
I just couldn't be more happy. Oh, I know. Sometimes people ask me how long the settlement agreement will last. And I think it's important for people, and you still have the settlement agreement on the website access for people. Is that, so if you've not read it, or if you've not read my reports, those are both on the website. Feel free to go. The settlement agreement requires compliance in every paragraph or agreement for a year before they can dismiss. I think it's important to remind people that the court dismissed 36 agreements.
The last report, and that was because Edna and New Jersey DOC was doing so well. And so they have, we continue to watch and make sure that those aren't slipping, because they're dismissed doesn't mean they're forgotten. So I think that with the political change or with the governor's change this year, it'll be interesting, and we will certainly want to monitor through that and see how that ends up. Any other questions, feel free to send them. I think they're on the website that you have access to. You can continue to ask questions until Sunday, even though this part starts or stops, this public meeting stops. You have the access to ask questions until Sunday, and they will be responded to.
So I see that we still have not had any questions submitted, and that will be our time together this morning. So again, just on behalf of the Department of Corrections, we are so pleased with the progress at Edna. We are pleased with the community support. We are pleased with the expertise that, quite frankly, all of you in the executive team, our leaders, those that are working at the facility lend to us. We're pleased with the assistance of our stakeholders and our legislators and those of you joining us this morning. And we look forward to continuing those relationships. So we will have an opportunity to do this again in a few months. And again, thank you for joining us this morning. And in case you didn't hear about staffing, NJDOC is hiring. Check out our recruitment page. Have a good day.